In today's video, we are asking a simple question. Should Stephen Harper, Canada's 22nd Prime Minister, be charged with election interference based on his action in the last election? Was there some form of election meddling? But first and foremost, we are going to look into who is Stephen Harper and his partisan endorsements carry any weight, or they're just frivolous, endorsing his former protege, Prime Poilievre. And we are also going to ask, why is he so obsessed with trying to get Prime Poilievre elected? And he seems to have overzealously done certain things which he should have never done. Who is Stephen Harper? Stephen Harper was the 22nd Prime Minister of Canada, came to power back in 2006 and was defeated by Justin Trudeau back in 2015. Since then, he has been very quiet until Prime Poilievre started showing some ambitions to become the leader of the Conservative. That's when Stephen Harper came out of the woodwork to endorse him.
Prime Poilievre has received a high-profile endorsement in his bid to lead the Conservative Party of Canada.
Prime Poilievre was a strong minister in my government.
Former Prime Minister Stephen Harper took to social media to say that Poilievre stands out in a strong field of candidates. Harper describes Poilievre as the party's, quote, most vocal and effective critic of the Trudeau Liberals.
Friends, fellow Conservatives, greetings. I haven't talked to you like this in a while, and much has transpired. Our party, once again, has a leadership race underway. In this particular race, there's been a lot of speculation about whom I support or do not support and why. So it may be useful for my fellow party members to hear my views straight from me. It's a strong field, but one candidate has garnered disproportionate attention. Prime Poilievre was a strong minister in my government. In the past several years, he's been our party's most vocal and effective critic of the Trudeau Liberals. He's been talking about the issues, especially the economic issues, that matter. Slow growth, debt, inflation, lack of job and housing opportunities, and the need to fix the institutions that are failing Canadian families. He's proposing answers rooted in sound conservative ideas, but ones adapted for today's realities. That's why he has the strong support of our caucus and our existing membership, and why he is bringing the most new members and a new generation into our party. That's how we win the next federal election. And in my opinion, Pierre has made by far the strongest case that he is the person to do that. I know, of course, that others, including some of my friends, may disagree with me, and I respect their views. But I thought you would like to know what my opinion actually is. Thank you for listening. God bless all of you, and God bless Canada.
There were two previous leadership races before Prime Poilievre with Aaron O'Toole and Andrew Scheer. Stephen Harper was seated on the fence, was neutral, did not endorse anybody. And those races went unfettered with the unholy hand of Stephen Harper. The disgraced hand of Stephen Harper did not matter in those two races of the Conservative Party. Then came Prime Poilievre. Let's back off a little bit and explain the link between these two men. Prime Poilievre came to politics as a 25-year-old in the early 2000s. Should have been 2005 or 2004. He came to the leadership of Stephen Harper. He came to Stephen Harper at the time when he was impressionable, politically speaking. He had no other political ideologies. He had not involved in any politics. Stephen Harper went ahead and imbued him with his far-right ideologies. One of them being this tough on crime, the bumper sticker. Prime Poilievre has been in politics much of his time under the leadership of Stephen Harper. He is a political clone of Stephen Harper. Politically speaking, Pierre was cloned out of the genes of Stephen Harper. He is what he is because of Stephen Harper. Probably that explains why he is so overzealously endorsing. But does his endorsement carry weight? This is Stephen Harper. Why am I saying that his endorsement doesn't carry any weight? Let's look at Stephen Harper. His career in politics His endorsement at party level worked wonders because Stephen Harper has respect within the conservative movement in Canada because he is seen as someone who united the right, who united the Conservative Party because it was fragmented, and he united them. When he endorsed Poilievre, he became the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada. Stephen Harper, during his time as the Canadian Prime Minister, he amassed a series of power abuse. At a party level, he carries respect because he's seen as a man who united the right. Now at national level, he is not an asset. He is a liability. Why do we say at national level he is a liability? Harper amassed dozens of serious abuse of power, abusing parliament, sabotage, and scandals during his time in office. He was a prime minister from 2006 to 2015. Then he was defeated by Justin Trudeau. Now, let's go through some of his abuses of power. The PM's office was tied to hush money scandal. The PM staffers were involved in secret payment to Senator Mike Duffy and then tried to make the problem go away. This came out of our national police. The RCMP investigated and find out that the staffers in the office were involved in secret payment to make this problem of Mike Duffy go away. This man, in his time in office, he faced a series of investigations, though fortunately didn't face any criminal prosecution. He was found in contempt of parliament. He refused to disclose costing of a program to Parliament which Parliament was entitled to. Another abuse of power. There was a refusal to share budget information as ordered by the court. There was this budget watchdog which wanted the budget information, and Stephen Harper refused to share the budget information. Then this watchdog went to court and they won a court case. But still, Stephen Harper did not abide by the court ruling. He was breaking the law. If the court orders me that by tomorrow, we don't want to see you driving on our streets, if I'm seen driving, I'll be arrested, taken to court, and be charged. It's a criminal offense to disobey the court. This man has the propensity to break the law. This man has the propensity to commit crimes. But he was running on an agenda of tough on crime and tough on other people's crimes, as people used to say. During his time in office, I remember reading a political essay by a guy called Craig Jones. He said he's tough on other people's crimes. This is a criminal activity. You can't refuse to abide by the court ruling. You are a criminal if you do that. Let's move on with this series. Just to clarify something. This list of abusive of power, which I'm going through, is not an exhaustive list. It's not all what he did. There were more than 100 documented cases of abuse of power by this man, Stephen Joseph Harper, who was Canada's Prime Minister from 2006 to 2015. But now he has the audacity to endorse other politicians, transferring his baggage, his shredded political reputation, transfer it to the other person. That's what he's doing. I have just cherry-picked some of them. There were more than 100 in my research, coming across like more than 102 of them. Some of them, they constitute criminal offense. Let's keep on with this abuse of power. Harper falsified reports and documents. He altered a CEDA document by the Office of Bev Order Office on Kairos, and also falsified a Senate committee report on the Duffy affair. On Duffy's case, he falsified the report on the Senate report on Duffy, and he also falsified the report, financial management report by Sheila Fraser. Okay, let's reiterate here. Stephen Harper has the propensity, has the audacity to order reports and send out there a false report. It speaks volume to his integrity. He's not a man of integrity. I don't know why he keeps on pushing himself into political limelight. There was a report issued by the office of this woman, Bev Order, the last name ODA, on Kairos. he altered it and also falsified a report, a Senate report on the Mike Duffy report affair. The one whom was involved in hush money I mentioned earlier on scandal, where he was going to his home claiming that he has a house in wherever where he didn't even have a house. He also falsified a report issued by the office of the auditor, then Auditor General Sheila Fraser. This man has no shred of integrity in his bone. Another scandal or serious abuse of power, there was on cost of the F-35 fighter jet. There was duplicity on cost of F-35 fighter jets. There was this deceptive practice misleading public on the project cost of the jets. He misled the people of Canada on the cost of F-35 jets. As I said before, he has no bone of integrity in his body. Abuse of power. He attacked the Supreme Court Chief Justice, falsely accused of inappropriate conduct. He attacked the Supreme Court Chief Justice, a woman by the name Beverly McLaughlin. This constitutes interfering with the independence of the judiciary. There is a reason why the judges have a life tenure, so that they don't act to the whims and caprices of the sitting politicians. They have to interpret the law in the court. He was interfering with the independence of the judiciary in his time in office from 2006 to 2015. He sabotaged or hindered the progress of the committee system in the parliament. He was barring witnesses. Stephen Harper, here's what he did in order to sabotage the committee system in parliament when people are testifying, especially in the Mike Duffy affair, for those testimony, so that things do not go against them. He was barring witnesses who he felt that might give testimonies which goes against his government. He was playing around limiting time. I've seen this played by radio talk show hosts when there is this phone-in sessions. They tend to give more time to people who are amplifying their message. And if you call in and you go against what they are saying and they don't like what you are saying, they say, okay, thank you, thanks for calling, okay, bye. See, they limit your time. This is what Stephen Harper was doing. He was barring the witness, limiting the time, and also doing this in-camera sessions to an extent that has never been seen here in Canada. And he actually prepared a handbook instructing the committee chairperson on how to obstruct proceedings. This is how Stephen Harper abused power. Harper's minister was caught in advertising scam with the public funds. The Minister for Democratic Reform put up a team of public servants on overtime on a Sunday to film him in a promotional video. Do you know whose minister is the same guy? Pierre Poilievre. He put up a team when he was the Minister of Democratic Reform. These two men, Stephen Harper and Pierre Poilievre, they have a tendency to attack the institutions that safeguard, that hold our democratic, our pluralist society. Pierre Poilievre, when he was the Minister of Democratic Reform, he made a act about then the CEO of Election Canada. Say he wears the team jersey, accusing him of partisanship. Mr. Harper, he hired his corrupt cronies. There was this convicted fraudster, Bruce Carson, was made a key advisor in the Prime Minister's office. Now, he lobbied for money for the new University of Calgary Eco think tank and left the PM's office to run the same think tank, converting it into an oil booster with 15 million by none other than this many, Mr. Harper. This is corruption on steroid, Mr. Harper. Now, going forward with another abuse of power. He was silencing of public servants, bureaucrats, all his communication vetted by politicals. This is reminiscent of Nazi Germany, where all communication within Hitler's government had to be vetted by the Minister of Propaganda. Let's move on. Harper's government blocked opposition members from being accredited to International Environmental Conference and visiting military bases. This is partisanship gone crazy. Harper has no credibility to be endorsing any politician. Just keep quiet and enjoy your retirement. Let's move on. Another abuse of power, there was a crampdown on freedom of speech. All dip had to get their communication approved by conservative political operatives. That means all those diplomats, or some of them who might be just mere public servants, they had their communication approved by the political operatives. The Conservative Party had this committee which you can go ahead and say. So as I said, this reminds us of Nazi Germany, where all communication had to be approved by the Minister of Propaganda. That's where this practice comes from. In the history of Western nations, that's where this practice originated from. The two men, Stephen Harper and this other man who was overzealously endorsing and desperately trying to have him elected, Prime Poilievre, they have also this tendency of muzzling their caucus members. There were some books written, I remember reading some of them. The one written by Mike Harris, The Part of One. Mike Harris is now a retired gentleman. The last time I heard of him, he is a former journalist and a broadcaster. He wrote a book called Part of One. There was also another one which I read, which was called Dismantling Canada, How Harper's Policies Are Destroying the Country. But I still have it, the copy of it. Let's keep on. Another abuse by Stephen Harper. There was an undue interference with independent agents. There was this command and control of the National Energy Board and also the CRTC, which is a body that controls communication, that licenses communication stations like cell phone companies, radio stations, TV stations, and they were being interfered with. These are supposed to be at arm's length organizations, and Stephen Harper was meddling with them. Another abuse of power, there were billions of dollars borrowed without Parliament's permission. The Minister of Finance could just go out and borrow as much as he wants under Stephen Harper's government. Could just go out and borrow. We are in government without permission. And another one, which is self-explanatory, he took the party's logo of Conservative Party and put it on government checks. This is self-explanatory. Stephen Harper had a series of abuse of power. Also, in my research, he was making some of civil servants swear allegiance to him. He also wanted the civil servant to refer to his government not as the government of Canada, but as the Harper government. I'm the man, I'm Stephen Harper. Refer to the Harper government, the Harper, Stephen Harper government. His other abuse of power, limits were placed on media access. Journalists were controlled and harassed by members of his government. And there is a gentleman also who wrote a book, but I remember just saying I didn't actually decide to pick up a copy of the book and read it. But he wrote the book Killing the Messenger, a journalist who detailed this harassment by the Harper government. He's a former journalist. I went in the bookshop, picked up the copy and looked at it, read the intro, read the preface, and read the synopsis of it, went online and just read the book review of it, then I decided not to read it. The central theme of that book, how they were being harassed by the Stephen Harper's government. Harper tried to ban journalists from asking questions. There was an incident where a journalist asked a question which didn't go well with the Harper team, and that journalist, they tried not to come with the Harper team to somewhere in Asia where he was going, because he had asked a question which didn't go well with Stephen Harper. These are some of the abuses of, as I said, there are over 100 documented cases of this man abusing his office, abusing his power, and behaving some fascist government. The one government, I think somewhere in Asia, as a journalist, you have first to submit your questions to the government for vetting, and then they will approve some of the questions you can ask. If that leader is having a press conference, you can only ask those questions that have been approved. That can, otherwise you'll be in big trouble. That's what Stephen Harper was trying to do. Now, let's go back to our question at the beginning. Should Stephen Harper be charged with election interference? He claimed that both men worked for him. Nothing bad with that, but I don't know the veracity of that or the truthful of that or whether that is true, because I don't see Justin Trudeau claiming that the CEO of Canada Post worked for him. That is a crown corporation that is at arm's length with the government. The other person was a politician in his caucus. So there is only one person who worked for him, in my humble opinion. I don't think you need a degree in public administration to know the difference between a politician and a public servant. Their duties. Why I asked that he should be charged with political interference. In his zealousness to have Pierre elected, he actually wrote a letter to Mark Carney, who is now our Prime Minister, and saying that he shouldn't be taking credit for solving financial crisis during his time in office, because it was him and his finance minister, Mr. Mark Carney, during Stephen Harper's time in office. From 2008 to 2013, Carney was the governor of the Canada's central bank, known as the Bank of Canada. As a governor, he was a civil servant during the time this man was the Prime Minister. Mark Carney did all the dirt work. I think to go through the detailed list of the function of the Bank of Canada or beyond the scope of this video. I did a wonderful job. Mark Carney was the governor of the central bank. Stephen Harper wrote a letter to Mark Carney that he shouldn't do overstating his role in managing the financial crisis of that era, which started back in 2007. He shouldn't be taking fully credit for that, but rightfully he did, although they worked hand in hand with his Minister of Finance. My question is, was he justified to write a letter to a leader of another party? And doesn't that constitute a political interference? Even if he was overstating, let's say, for argument's sake, Carney was overstating his role in managing the financial crisis of that era. Was Stephen Harper justified to write a letter to him? Are you supposed to be writing to a member of another party, a leader of another party? I am submitting, Your Honor, with all due respect, that Stephen Harper should be charged with election interference. This was meddling so as to get Pierre Poilievre elected. And stop claiming that both men worked for you. No. Pierre Poilievre worked for you. He was in your caucus. Mark Carney was a civil servant. Civil servants do not change with the government. Your minister changes with. When your party is defeated, your minister, they go out. The members of parliament, they go out. Politicians are elected officials. Civil servants are hired officials. Bureaucrats, they are hired. And in most cases, they don't change with the change of government. Justin Trudeau cannot claim that the CEO of Canada Post worked for him or the Commissioner of Revenue Canada worked for him. Can say Dominic LeBlanc worked for him, but not the Commission of Revenue Canada. In closing, let me say, the former Prime Minister has amassed a monumental list of abuse of power, corruption, a violation of ethics, and so carries a political baggage such that whenever he endorsed anybody, he is transferring that baggage on him. Stephen Harper should never endorse anybody. You are a disgrace at national level. This list, which is not all, is the reason why you lost to Justin Trudeau back in 2015. Keep quiet and enjoy your retirement. We ask you to subscribe to this channel. Please subscribe to this channel.